Hello everyone, welcome to my video. Today I will be painting a peppermint themed birthday cake greeting card. I begin by sketching out the cake idea I have. It's a simple looking cake surrounded by crushed peppermint and some whole peppermint candy things. When I'm drawing on watercolor paper, I try to avoid overworking the surface too much so it doesn't mess with the fibers of the paper. And it makes it harder to work the paint if I erase too much. I rarely sketch and refine a sketch on my final drawing surface like I do here because of that. I will typically sketch out my idea in my sketchbook, try to work on refining the sketch there, and then transfer it to the paper or canvas I intend to paint on with either my light table or some carbon paper. I also don't want to scrape away any paper like you would with a traditional eraser, so you'll see me use a jelly eraser thing a couple of times. It's great at lifting the graphite without putting too much stress on the paper itself. When I am done with my sketch, it's time to paint. I watered down some gouache and went for a muddy red color for the background. I tried to keep it as wet as possible because I wanted to put down some rock salt for texture. It's fun to use the rock salt to try and achieve a cake texture. It just absorbs all the wet paint and makes a cool little crumbly cake texture that I like to go for. So after that dried, I realized I wanted to paint on this piece a little bit thicker and I wanted the paint to be a bit more vibrant. So I started layering the paint a bit more and I added some more rock salt to the cake. It didn't work out so well on the second paint layer, so I went in with various darker and lighter paints to try and achieve a crumbly cake texture. Once I was happy with the cake, I moved on to the frosting. I started off with a reddish base similar to the background and then tried adding some highlights. I wasn't super happy with the color choices at this point. It felt like it was lacking something to me. So I do repaint the frosting later on and it looks a lot more cohesive. I struggled a lot with the cake frosting piping thingamajigs at the edge of the cake. I just couldn't get the shading right. I struggled to keep track of where I was painting on those swirly designs. I've been struggling with those every single time I paint a cake for some reason. It just breaks my brain. Here I am repainting the frosting with a purple base. It looks so much better than what I was working with before and I'm so glad I reworked the area. Back at my next attempt with these frosting, piping, decoration thingamabobs, I kept the area wet to make it easier to add highlights and shadows where I wanted them. The light reflection makes it difficult to see what it looks like for now, so sorry about that. I'm not quite sure how to avoid that. Once I had the initial shadows and highlights down, I worked on refining it by putting paint down with my liner brush and then blending it with a clean, dry, round brush. The paint was not my friend at this point. It dried a bit too fast at times, or the dry brush completely absorbed the paint I was putting down. It was a bit wonky to deal with, but I managed it in the end. I put down some red bases for the crushed peppermint and peppermint candies, and then painted the white stripes on top of that. I liked having the red base kind of poke through. You can really see the cake starting to come together at this point. I don't have video of this part, but I repainted the background to be more vibrant. I didn't like the old one after I put down the bright red candies. It was an impulsive painting moment. To finish up this piece, I took some colored pencils and added some outlines to help with some contrast and making the piece seem more refined and finalized. You can see I started off with a darker red pencil, but the tip kept breaking and I struggled to sharpen it without it breaking. So I got frustrated and I used a lighter shade instead. Typical Prismacolor experience. Well, I hope you liked this video. Prints of this card will be available on my Etsy if you're interested. I will see you all later. Bye bye!